Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever started a new job or maybe joined a high-stakes group project?
Oh, sure. And everyone sitting around the table seems, perfectly normal at first.
Right. They're shaking hands, they're sipping their coffee. But then, like a few weeks in, you realize every single person in that room is secretly carrying an immense, staggering amount of bizarre traumatic baggage.
Yeah. And you look around and think, how is this team supposed to execute a single objective when everyone is basically one bad day away from a total meltdown?
Exactly. It's that iceberg illusion.
Right. You see the 10% above the water, the firm handshake, or in our case today, the functional armor.
Yeah, and you totally miss the massive, jagged ice structure lurking right beneath the surface, just waiting to rip the hull open.
Which is honestly the perfect lens for the stack of documents we are diving into today.
It really is. Today we're looking through character sheets, official compendiums, and some highly detailed recap notes from a tabletop role-playing campaign.
Specifically focusing on session one, right?
Yes, just session one. Our mission for this deep dive is to unpack how this highly volatile, traumatized party attempts to function as quote-unquote heroes in this fragile frontier town called Phandalin.
And it's fascinating because, the external threats, like the monsters in the wilderness, they're almost secondary.
Totally. The real danger is entirely internal. I mean, they don't even start this campaign sitting in a tavern, clinking mugs of ale like a standard fantasy story.
No, they start in cold sweats. They wake up from these intensely personal, recurring nightmares.
Right. So let's look at Reed here first. He's a warlock fighter, and his dream is deeply unsettling. You're basically looking through his young eyes, standing inside a chaotic circus tent.
Just screaming people, blood on the ground, a total childhood nightmare.
Yeah, and in the middle of all this horror, young Red Ear locks eyes with this suave older man, and the man asks him, "Would you be the savior of the broken? Because one day, I'll leave you a phantom to lead you through the fire."
Which is just a brilliant narrative hook. That older man is tied to infernal entities, specifically the devil patron Raphael.
Right, who operates through a broker named Ganthor.
Exactly. And the phantom he mentions, that isn't a metaphor. It's Zarathos, the spirit of vengeance, who literally shares Reader's body. Mechanically, he's a ghostwriter.
So this dream kind of establishes that his warlock pact wasn't just some desperate deal struck in a moment of weakness.
No, not at all. He was groomed for this possession amidst childhood tragedy. The magic he wields isn't his, it's rented.
Rented magic. Ugh, that is horrifying when you think about the cost. And then you look at Whiffer's dream.
Ah, Whiffer, the Aasimar Echo Knight.
Right, so Whiffer is a kid again in his nightmare. He's revered by everyone for his glowing celestial nature, but simultaneously feared and abandoned by his parents.
Well, isolation.
Yeah, and his only comfort is playing hide and seek with a young shadow girl. But the dream always ends with her phasing out into nothing. She's just an echo.
Which ties so perfectly into how an Echo Knight functions at the table. Usually, you use a bonus action to summon a physical manifestation of your timeline, like a magical clone.
Right, to fight alongside you.
But the compendium reveals Whiffer's soul is literally severed. He carries the radiant celestial half.
And his missing twin sister, Whiffla, who requires an infernal engine just to keep her heart beating, by the way, carries the demonic half.
Exactly. So when Whiffer summons his echo in combat, he isn't just using a tactical subclass feature. He's subconsciously manifesting the missing half of his severed consciousness.
The shadow girl in his dream is his sister. So every single time he uses a core class ability, he is reinforcing his own trauma.
That is heavy.
So heavy.
Yeah.
And then we have Boris, the cleric. His nightmare drops you into a pitch-black, moonless night on a freezing ocean.
A burning merchant vessel, right?
Yeah. Pirates are laughing in the dark. His captain is burning alive and Boris is drowning. But just as he hits absolute despair, a hand pulls him from the water as lightning strikes.
And a voice promises that storms of the ocean will bring salvation.
Right, and that voice is Talos, the chaotic evil god of destruction.
Which is wild because Boris is a former pacifist healer. He attributes his survival entirely to Talos pulling him from the sea.
But wait, if you read the DM's background notes closely, there are hints that this memory might be a fabrication.
Oh, absolutely. Talos might have completely engineered the memory of saving him just to secure a cleric.
I mean, if the DM is basically gaslighting the character's backstory, does that mean Boris's entire faith is built on manipulated trauma?
That's the terrifying question about this universe, isn't it? How much of their pain is organically theirs, and how much is manufactured by the gods to groom them into useful vessels?
I mean, just imagine the emotional hangover from waking up to these realities. You're snapping at your friends, you're exhausted before you even put your armor on.
And you can't just stay in bed. You have bounties to hunt. You need gold.
Right. So they head out into the town of Phandalin, and immediately they drag all of this internal baggage right into the public square.
Yes, straight to the townmaster's hall to meet Mayor Harvin Wester.
And Wester is, like, notoriously cowardly. He's a selfish mayor holding together an incredibly fragile local government.
Basically, the last person equipped to handle a group of volatile super soldiers.
And the interaction is an immediate disaster. First off, Vitrovia the Tiefling Druid implies she has a past romantic history with the mayor.
Which is just incredibly awkward, especially since she's carrying her own secret mission to restore a destroyed homeland.
Yeah, it's a mess. But the real friction happens when Boris steps up. Now keep in mind, we know from their Session 0 prequel notes that this party survived a brutal orc ambush on the road literally yesterday.
Right, people died, wagons burned.
Exactly. And Boris looks this nervous mayor dead in the eye and openly confesses that he worships Talos.
A deity whose followers are universally recognized as a dangerous, sacrificial cult of chaos.
I was reading that and I just thought, like, why? If you just survived a bloodbath, why is your opening move in a new town to announce your allegiance to the god of destruction?
It's terrible PR.
It's a total public relations nightmare. It's like surviving a horrific car crash and then tattooing the logo of the drunk driver's truck on your forehead just because you convinced yourself the truck spared you.
That car crash analogy is spot on. It's pure survivor's guilt. Boris is carrying the psychic weight of his destroyed crew.
Yeah.
To him, denying Talos in public would mean denying the entity he genuinely believes pulled him from the freezing water.
Right. It's an aggressive defense mechanism.
Right.
He clings to this chaotic god because the alternative is admitting his survival was just random, meaningless luck.
Exactly. By announcing it to the mayor, he's choosing loyalty to his trauma over social survival.
Choosing loyalty to his trauma. Wow. That really frames his entire character arc.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of trauma weaponized in public, we have to talk about Whiffer's morning errand.
The trip to the Lion Shield coster.
Yes. So Boris needs a new shield because Reader accidentally burned his old one during that Session 0 ambush. So they go to the local trading post, run by a sharp-tongued woman named Lean Greywind.
And Whiffer walks in and realizes something horrifying.
Right. This specific shop used to be an outpost for Brightblade Iron X, which is his missing parents' company.
The humiliation of that moment is just visceral. Brightblade Iron X wasn't just a mom-and-pop shop. It was a massive operation.
It's like walking into your local coffee shop and realizing the barista is the corporate shark who orchestrated the hostile takeover of your family's coffee farm.
And then the barista looks at you and roasts you to your face.
Yeah, she totally roasts him about running his inheritance into the ground. Line does not hold back.
She doesn't. But beneath the insults, Line drops a massive piece of exposition for Whiffer.
Right, the R&D lab.
Yeah. His parents, Ricard and Mila Brightblade, weren't just forging standard armor. They were conducting highly secretive research to forge a void weapon.
Lane mentions rumors of a hidden lab out there actively trying to engineer a Dragon Slayer weapon.
Suddenly, this embarrassing social encounter isn't just about lost family wealth.
It's a breadcrumb trail. It connects his parents' disappearance to the prophecy that severed his soul in the first place.
Which proves Phandalin isn't functioning as a safe hub to restock gear. It's an active arena where their unresolved past confront them at every turn.
No kidding. Which naturally drives the party to just seek an escape. The social and political dynamics are too heavy, so they revert to what they know.
Violence.
Violence.
Mm-hmm.
They take on 2 bounties just to get out of Phandalin's borders. Their first stop is Umbridge Hill.
Where they find a Manticore trying to break down the door of an old stone windmill.
Right, and inside is Adabra Gwyn, a local midwife and apothecary. So they roll initiative, they fight the beast, they save the apothecary, and she gives them healing potions.
Very classic D&D.
It is. And honestly, when I was reading this encounter, it felt almost too simple. Like the DM intentionally threw them a mechanical bone to chew on.
Oh, absolutely. Did it feel like a narrative palate cleanser to you?
Yeah, exactly that.
Well, think about the psychological relief of binary combat for these specific characters. They spent the night trapped in their own minds, haunted by burning ships and demonic ringmasters.
And their morning navigating ex-flings and corporate rivals.
Right. Compared to that psychological warfare, fighting a Manticore is incredibly straightforward. The monster has a set number of hit points. You reduce those hit points to 0, the problem ceases to exist.
It's a tangible problem with a physical permanent solution.
Yeah.
It creates this illusion of agency.
The key word there is illusion.
Yeah. They save the day, they get the potions, they get to feel like traditional heroes for a few hours.
The narrative gives them that brief, triumphant high, just so the inevitable rug pull feels that much more devastating when the sun goes down.
And oh, does the rug get yanked completely out from under them at the campfire?
It really does.
They set up camp outside the windmill. You'd think sitting around a fire after a hard day's combat would be a moment to breathe, but suddenly, Raider's campfire starts making a ringing noise.
Like a literal telephonic ringing.
Yes. The flames shift into a visual feed, and this AI-like voice announces, "You have an incoming collect correspondence. Do you accept? To accept, please insert a bronze piece."
I love that. The bureaucracy of the Nine Hells demanding a toll charge for a magical phone call is just a brilliant touch of dark world building.
It's hilarious until you realize who is calling. It's Redier's patron, Raphael, and he is drunk.
Drunk dialing his warlock.
He's at some infernal party with other devils, and he's calling because he wants to show Raider off to his friends. He demands Raider transform into his Ghost Rider form as a party trick.
Which Raider refuses, naturally.
Right, which makes total sense.
Yeah.
But Raphael doesn't care. He simply bypasses Raidier's autonomy, stokes the infernal connection to Zarathos, and forces the physical transformation anyway.
It shifts instantly from dark comedy to body horror.
I mean, imagine you're listening to this right now on your commute to a job with a boss you don't like. Now imagine that boss can legally bypass your nervous system and hijack your physical body whenever they want to laugh.
Yeah, that violates every HR rule in the multiverse.
It really does. Readers made a pact to save people, and the trade-off is complete subjugation. He has zero bodily autonomy.
This campfire scene really strips away the romanticism of the warlock class. Usually, players treat patrons like distant sugar daddies who just hand out eldritch blasts.
Right. But here, Redders is treated as a literal vessel.
And we know from the compendium that Redder is constantly fighting to maintain the integrity of his mind while balancing a committee of competing entities.
Oh yeah, you have the demon monk Sog offering tactical advice.
You have the innocent manifestation of Kid Redder holding on to his humanity.
And Zarathos, the volatile spirit of vengeance, constantly pushing for violence. It's a crowded, hostile environment inside his own head.
And Raphael's drunken flex proves that Redder doesn't even hold the deed to the property.
It's crazy. It shows the listener and the rest of the party that no matter how many manticores they kill, mortal souls are ultimately just playthings for higher powers.
And that realization is suffocating. I mean, after watching your coworker spontaneously combust and transform because his boss was drunk, you desperately need a distraction.
Seriously. Which leads them to their second bounty, the Dwarven excavation. They head to a rocky canyon and meet two prospectors, Dazzlin and Norbus,
who have been digging out a ruined settlement buried by an avalanche centuries ago.
But the site hides a massive hewn stone temple dedicated to Abathor, the evil dwarven god of greed. And the lore of this specific temple is incredibly telling.
Yeah, the avalanche that buried the settlement wasn't a natural disaster.
Nope. The god caused it because he was displeased with the volume of blood and gemstones his priests were sacrificing during a solar eclipse.
A literal divine temper tantrum.
Yeah. And the priests who survived the crushing rocks were cursed. They were transformed into ochre jellies,
which are mindless, acidic oozes that exist only to consume. They became the debased, physical reflections of their god's insatiable hunger.
So Dazzlin and Norbus breached the temple, saw the blood-stained altar, got chased by these oozes, and ran. So they offer our party a deal.
Clear out the temple and we'll split the treasure and throw in a pair of magical sending stones.
But taking a step back, this isn't just a random dungeon crawl to end the session. They are walking into the physical aftermath of divine punishment.
It acts as a thematic mirror. They're standing in the ruins of a civilization wiped out because a god felt undercompensated.
How is that any different from Boris's relationship with Talos, who routinely drowns entire coastal towns to demand worship?
Or different from Raphael treating Raider like a disposable toy. Whether you are a dwarven priest in ancient times or a human warlock sitting at a campfire, the power dynamics remain the same.
The gods view mortals as expendable currency.
Exactly.
When you lay it all out like that, the sheer density of Session 1 is staggering. I mean, they didn't just clear a few rooms of goblins.
No, we saw infernal entities hijacking nervous systems for a laugh.
We saw hostile corporate takeovers weaponized to salt the wounds of family trauma. We saw manipulated memories, severed souls, and ancient curses born of pure divine greed.
It works so well because it grounds the fantastical elements in deeply human vulnerabilities. The magic system isn't just a tool set for combat, it's a structural framework for their trauma.
Which brings us entirely back to you, the listener. How often do we carry our own invisible baggage into the new environments of our lives?
All the time.
Right. You might not be carrying a literal spirit of vengeance, but maybe it's severe imposter syndrome, or the lingering effects of a toxic work environment, or complex family histories.
We all drag that weight into the new Phandalins we enter.
We really do. And the brilliance of this compendium is that it literalizes those internal struggles. The imposter syndrome becomes a severed shadow clone. The toxic boss becomes a drunken devil.
And by making the trauma physical, the narrative forces the characters to either confront it head-on or be entirely consumed by it. You can't outrun a problem when it manifests as a lightning storm in your mind or an oozing monster in a cave.
You really can't. I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive. Throughout these documents, we've seen patrons and deities treat these characters like disposable pieces on a cosmic chessboard.
From Talos manipulating a drowning man's memories,
To Raphael's campfire flex, to the mystery of whoever brokered Whiffer's severed soul, the board is completely rigged. But what happens to the game when the pawns realize they are being played?
well, that is the ticking time bomb of this entire campaign. You can only push a pawn so far before it reaches the other side of the board.
Yeah. If a soul is brokered in an unfair contract, or partitioned for a dark prophecy, what happens when these deeply traumatized, highly volatile heroes finally decide they've had enough?
That's the real question.
What happens when they stop swinging their swords at the Manticores in front of them and decide to turn around and bite the divine hands that keep rolling the dice?
I guess we'll have to see.
Next time you sit down at a new job or join a project, and you look at the seemingly normal people around the table, remember that you have no idea what kind of demons they are wrestling with. And more importantly, you have no idea what they might do when they finally decide to fight back.